why my ears always get crooked. Like I always notice they're crooked right after I'm live. Like I can't be bothered to notice that on the camera before. Oh my goodness. And then I'm backwards. Everything I do is backwards. Hi. Hello everyone. I'm Joe. If you've never gotten to meet me in person or see me talk, this is me. If you've just seen posts, and welcome. I am the Pet Wellness Coach, and I'm here to talk to you guys tonight about your pet's paws, mostly, and winter with their paws, because there's a lot of reasons to prep and protect your pet's paws during the winter months. Of course, those of you in Florida, it might not be quite as important for you guys. Though there are some summer tips that you can take from this as well. But for many of us in the country, we're heading into winter months, and we are going to be looking at ice and snow. I've actually seen there's some areas that have snow already. So what are some of the dangers that we're looking at out there for our pets' paw pads? So one of them obviously is the cold, the snow, the ice, that kind of exposure. While they can tolerate obviously tons more than we can from an exposure standpoint, without needing necessarily shoes or boots or something like that. And of course, it does depend on the breed as well. You need to think about these things. But they can still suffer from overexposure. And with repeated regular exposure to extreme temperatures and extreme cold, cold snow and ice, that can also really dry out their paw pads. It sucks that moisture out of them. And once they start to get dried out, they start to get rough, and then eventually they're going to start to crack, maybe even bleed. And that can be really painful for them, obviously. Think about when you have a hangnail even, and it bleeds and it gets sore. And you're not having to walk on it, so that's probably not even a very good example. Maybe think more about when you've got blisters on your feet or something like that. So what are other dangers that are out there? We're also looking, obviously, at salt and salt substitutes that aren't necessarily pet safe. But even the pet safe ones, while they may not cause the irritation that salt and the salt substitutes can cause, they're still going to have chemicals and stuff in them that we have to think about. So just like with people, on your pet, their paw pads and their skin is an organ that absorbs everything that's put on it. That's why your topical flea treatments, for example, work, because you put it on one part of their body and it gets absorbed. It gets spread around by the oils on the skin and absorbed into the body, and basically turns your pet into a pesticide. But I'm not here to talk about that. So, but that's it. It's functionally the same as it is on humans. Why it's important to think about what you're putting on your body and the kinds of chemicals that are in it, etc. Because all of that does get absorbed into your body, and it's the same with our pets. So you have to think about that. And the salt itself, that's extra drying, and it's painful for them. I know my dog, even without dry, cracked feet, he will reach a point in his walk where he just stops. He's like, I can't walk anymore, Mommy. It hurts. And it's not from the cold. It's because it's only when we've hit that rock salt is the big thing for him. And it can be different with different dogs. Different dogs are more sensitive. Their paws are more sensitive than others, just like with people. Every pet is an individual. And so I just want you to think about these things before you go out and take your dog for a walk or anything. Clearly, you want to avoid as much as you can, but those of us who live in the city, we don't have a whole lot of options to allow us to avoid things if we still want to exercise our dog and take them places and do things with them. So what can we do to protect them along the way? or before we leave. So one of the things that we can do to protect them before we leave is to apply some kind of a balm or protectant to the bottoms of their feet, to their paw pads. Now, Pawtree, the company that I work with their products almost exclusively, has a wonderful healing shea butter balm. It's lavender, and it's super mildly scented. Like, I personally cannot smell it, but I have had people tell me that they can smell it, so there has to be some smell there. I just smell like kind of like an unscented, not chapstick, but an unscented balm kind of smell. But other people have told me they can smell the lavender in it, but it shouldn't bother anybody's sensibilities. I wouldn't expect. One of the reasons I love this company's products is because everything has a money-back guarantee for a full 90 days. No muss, no fuss, and no returns. So if you get it and it's too strongly scented for you, you just let me know, and we get your money back, and we can try something else. So this is a fantastic thing that you can put on the bottom of your pet's feet, on their paw pads. I recommend doing it like immediately. Like, this is the last thing you do before you go out the door, or maybe you even do it on your porch when you're first out the door. And there's a couple reasons for that. One is, obviously, if you use a little too much by accident or something, they're not leaving greasy paw prints all over your house. Although it's natural, it will absorb, and it's not really a big deal. If you can avoid it, probably a good idea. And then the other thing is that this way, once they're out the door, they're focused on their walk, and they're not worried about trying to lick off this weird stuff that you just put on their paw. You don't need a lot. This stuff is super natural, and you can just wipe your finger on it. I actually have used it as chapstick and stuff to protect my own lips as well, especially when I'm at an event and I can't find, or I forgot my chapstick. And it's really great stuff. It helps protect their paws from the moisture and the salt, the moisture sucking, and the salt and the cold. But it also helps to re-nourish the paw pad and helps keep it from getting so dried out that it's going to crack and hurt. Because that salt, if they walk in it, especially if if they have a wound on their paw, or the pad is cracked at all, imagine rubbing salt in your wound, or what it feels like when you get lemon juice or salt or something like that on a cut on your hand. It's very painful. So this will help keep those pads from drying out and getting those cracks. Another thing you have to think about when it comes to the salt and stuff like that is cleaning them up when you get back from a walk. Well, let me back up a little bit because I skipped. So you can also bring a towel with you to be able to wipe off their paws periodically. If they get stuck, and you can just do a quick wipe with a dry towel. Do not make it wet. You don't want to add any wet and extra cold to this situation. Just a dry towel you can wrap their paw up in and hold it with your hands to help warm it up if it's too cold. You can use it to clean in between the toes, things like that. You could even bring the balm with you, toss it in your pocket, so if you have to do that along the walk, you can give them another quick fresh coat. I know my dog doesn't like me messing with his feet a whole lot. He's not very tolerant with that at all. So I literally will just take this balm and do a quick swipe with his paw, like super quick. It doesn't have to be an involved thing. And then we're off and we are walking. And once we're walking, he doesn't care. You can also train them to wear booties of some sort. I don't like most booties. They're awkward for the dog, and they add a whole lot to the whole process of walking them. There are some new ones on the market, though, that I really love and highly recommend. They're called Clawgs, Clawgs, and one of the reasons they're so phenomenal is that they don't affect your dog's gait at all. They don't make him feel weird. They let him or her have their normal grip, because they kind of go on like a sandal. They go in through and around the toes. Sounds like a pain in the butt, but really, I mean, the woman who designed them, I I backed them on Kickstarter and have been following them since the beginning, and she has put so much work into making them as easy and simple and straightforward as possible. They are a phenomenal invention. I highly recommend checking them out, and I will put a link to their website in the comments in case anybody wants to check them out. I will say, if you do though, it's really important that you watch the videos that she has on there about measuring properly to get the right size and fit for your dog. Watch the videos and definitely follow those instructions. They are sold in pairs because most dogs have different size paws in the front than they do in the back. The back paws are usually a little smaller. And it's really important that you get the right size for each set of paws. And they actually on the website even recommend buying 2 different colors so you can easily tell which are the clogs for the front paws and which are the ones for the back paws. They're really great. Definitely check those out. So all right, so we've talked about some of the dangers out there, but I also want you to think about when your dog gets home from its walk, what are you doing to clean up afterwards? Do you just let your dog in the house and you're done? Do you let them in a mud room until they've kind of dried off and cleaned themselves up? And I want you to think about all of the salt and or chemicals that are in the salt substitutes that get on their bodies. Think about when you walk your pet in the rain, for example, and but it's not raining, but it has rained, so it's wet out. So this is what I'm trying to get at. And so think about how wet their underbelly gets and their arms, up and down their arms and legs. Think about how wet that gets. Well, when you're walking them in the winter in the salt and snow, it's the same thing. That salt and those chemicals, those substitutes, they get all over their belly and their legs. So it's really important to clean them up when you get back. You don't want them to ingest all that. You probably spend a good amount of money on a quality food. If you don't and you want to, talk to me because we have the best food short of feeding your pet live that's out there. Raw is what I meant to say. That's out there. And so talk to me. But you're probably pay a good amount of money to feed them a food that has no salt in it. And you try and keep them on a low salt diet. And maybe they get a French fry every now and then from what you've got left over. And that might have a little bit of salt on it. But for the most part, you're giving them a salt-free diet. Oh, you don't want to load them up with rock salt and other chemicals from cleaning themselves up when you get back. They aren't made to ingest those kinds of chemicals. Those are man-made things that in the wild they would never ever have come across that kind of a quantity of something. So I highly recommend, you can just clean them up with, a warm washcloth when you get home, wipe off their belly, wipe off their paws. And I do recommend doing it with something that's wet, however, because if you just do it with something dry, you aren't necessarily cleaning off. You're drying them, but you aren't necessarily getting a lot or most of that salt and chemicals out of there. You're just drying the moisture that's around it. So I do recommend using a warm cloth or something. Now, Pottery does have these tween time cleansing wipes that you can use. They smell so good. They smell like coconut. These are aloe and coconut, or coconut and aloe. And they are phenomenal. They're very thick, so you don't have to worry about like using it on their paws and their claws, just shredding it or something. I'm going to show you here. So they're a good size. They're a good thickness. These are like, can you hear? They're a good size. They're a good thickness. And in addition to helping to clean those chemicals and that salt off of your pet, whatever body parts need cleaned, they are also going to nourish the skin and leave them smelling amazing. So they're going to sort of be like a post treatment on their paw pad. You could put a little more balm on afterwards if you want, if they have really dry paw pads, to help soothe them. But this, it has the aloe in it and the coconut. It's going to help to get those chemicals as well as sort of re-nourish that paw pad and the skin in and around the fur that you're cleaning off, etc. So that's a fantastic use for these wipes that you can use in between baths for little cleanups and stuff like that. Um, oh, Dusty, yeah, I will reach out to you after I'm done with the live. I'll reach right out to you so we can get you guys started. So that is, I think that was everything that I wanted to cover in this. We talked about protection. We talked about chemicals. We talked about, I should have made a checklist, but this was kind of on the fly and unplanned. So this is me in my rawest form. I don't actually think I've even brushed my hair today. So about as raw as it gets. But I hope that you got some value here. If you're interested in any of the pottery products that I talked about or ones that I didn't, reach out to me or comment and I'll definitely be in touch. Or, if there's other things going on with your pet that you're looking for help with, that's what I do, and I do work mostly with pottery products because of it's such a top quality company, and working with them actually allows me to not charge for my consultation time. So because I'm compensated in other ways. And so yes, it is in some ways sales, but it's, for me anyways, it's not really about that. Yes, I want to make a living, but my goal is to help your pet. So if we try something that isn't the right solution for your pet, then we get your money back and we move on to another option. You can move on to somebody else, or you can stay with me and I'll work with you. That's my goal, is to help you and your pet. So I hope that you will think about what we've talked about tonight. Comment if you have any questions or anything like that. And I love you all. Thank you and have a good night.